maybe something we were pessimistic or not expecting great things from, unlike Mr. Robot, was Justice League, which we both saw over the weekend. I went Friday afternoon, had a very interesting crowd with me. Near the end of the movie, someone actually stood up and clapped after they beat the bad guy, which Steppenwolf, which we'll get into. And then after the credits ran and the final scene was cast, someone just shouted out, "Get better writers next time." So it was divisive, to say the least, the movie crowd I was at. There's, I think, a lot to unpack here. So where do you want to start with this Justice League discussion?
Yeah, so you're right. There's a lot to deconstruct. So let's just start with the macro real world stuff. So Justice League is the fifth film in the DCEU. Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Suicide Squad. This year's Wonder Woman, the one film that was universally loved and acclaimed, and now we have Justice League. And I think you look at the box office numbers this year, 96 million, the first time in history that 96 million domestic is considered a disappointment, which is hilarious, but that's the fact. And that's versus a production budget that's around 300 million, because as you might have heard if you were on Twitter this summer, Justice League underwent extensive reshoots this summer when Zack Snyder, who was the architect of BVS and kind of this whole modern DCEU in general as the main director, he had to step away from Justice League due to a personal family tragedy. And Joss Whedon came in. Joss Whedon, of course, Firefly fame, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and of course Avengers 1 and 2. And Joss Whedon is much more dialogue-y, quippy, funny, if you will. And you can kind of see that when you watch this movie, because about a third of the movie was reshot, and there are these scenes that are just lighter and more snappy and that are just so tonally different than the Zack Snyder self-serious stuff. And while the movie is very jarring in that regard, and in a sense, some people, DC fans, kind of feel like WB threw Snyder under the bus, I kind of am not mad, because if this movie was 100% serious and this was a Snyder movie, it would admit that. And I'm saying that as someone who loves 300 and really likes Watchmen. I'm not an anti-Snyder guy. I just think his vision for this universe is just not working. So it's almost like, thank God that Whedon stepped in and made it as light as he possibly could. But the fact remains that no matter who made it, whether it was Snyder or Whedon 100%, it's a pretty middling script, and it almost feels like it's a movie from like 6 years ago with a villain that's so one-dimensional and so CGI. So if you look at it in that regard, it's kind of a movie out of place, because one last thing, I mean, the DCEU was Batman vs Superman was basically a reaction to Man of Steel. Superman, when he's fighting Zod at the end, when he's fighting the immaculate Michael Shannon, he's doing it in the city, killing tons of people, and they're wrecking all these skyscrapers. Superman would never do that. He would fight in the ocean. He would fight in a field somewhere, right? So what they do in BVS, they overcorrected. You have the news people saying, Batman and Superman are fighting at this abandoned island where nobody lives. And then Suicide Squad was already basically done by the time the Batman vs Superman negative reaction came out. So what they do, they shot the shit David Ayer's movie and made it much more funny as much as they could, but it was still this ridiculous story fighting Enchantress, these street level thugs fighting this godly villain. It just, again, it didn't really work. And then we have Wonder Woman, which has finally stepped in the right direction, a movie that's not big, it has all these moving parts. Gal Gadot's great, and Chris Pine great in supporting role. It's awesome, and you totally forgive a CGI villain and a CGI heavy third act, because the rest of the movie was so strong. Justice League, again, the train had already left the station by the time Wonder Woman was so good. So I look at this movie and I give it a bit of a pass, because it clearly is a product of a pre-Wonder Woman DC. So when I look at it in that angle, and you see the fan reaction and they say, you know, we're kind of happy where it left off with the characters, I can understand that. But the fact remains that it's not a good movie if you look at it, you know, just on its own.
Right. Yeah. so after I got out
Not
of
the
the movie,
monologue for 10 minutes. Sorry.
no, that's okay. I wanted to let you ISO for a bit. First of all, shout out Chris Pine. I think he should have been named the sexiest man alive. Blake Shelton. I mean,
What the
what are we
fuck,
what are
man?
we doing? Anyways, jumping back into Justice League, I agree with most of what you said. I don't like, if I had to grade this movie, I'd probably give it like a C plus. I think just like taking it as like a superhero movie, there were moments I really enjoyed. Uh, Ezra Miller was just he was like a lightning bolt on the screen, which is funny because he was basically the Flash. He was the
In
Flash.
character.
Yeah, and he was fantastic, and it really almost was like after Wonder Woman, that conversation between Bruce Wayne and Wonder Woman, basically being like, I don't know if I can do this anymore, and what talking about how Wonder Woman needs to be the leader was literally like a very meta conversation. Like Wonder Woman needs to become like the lead of DC universe.
Yep.
In order for their movies to be successful. And I really think it did a good job of shaping what things can look like moving forward. Like the Flash movie, I'm very excited to see now, which if this hadn't gone well and Ezra Miller wasn't good in this, I probably would have skipped that one. Cyborg, I thought, was a character that, I don't know. I have some thoughts about Cyborg. Brooding teenager. I think trying to have him like figure out his emotional side to his situation in a movie like this didn't really feel in place.
I believe he had some scenes that were already cut, and not to keep going. I mean, this was originally going to be 2 movies, so a lot of stuff was condensed or totally cut from this movie. But yeah, I think Cyborg is people will take him or leave him after this.
I think that makes sense. That it was supposed to be 2 movies. Yeah, Steppenwolf as a villain is just shit. Like, The Ringer recently did a rewatchables podcast on The Dark Knight, and just listening to them
podcast,
yeah, and them talking about Heath Ledger as the Joker just even enhanced my experience of Steppenwolf as a shitty villain. Just like nothing to him, very CGI'd. I don't know.
And that's my thing when I listen to or I listen to positive stuff. And again, if you like the movie, love the movie, that's awesome. I'm happy it's pleasing some people. That's a great start, for the future of this franchise, Wonder Woman independent. But if all you wanted your movie villain to do was be a plot MacGuffin to get the people together and motivate them, I just think that's a low expectation. And yes, we can look at Loki in Avengers. Is he doing anything that different plot-wise? No. But I think because the rest of the movie is better, written better, looks better. Thankfully, only had one director. Like the rest of Avengers works so well that a basic villain plot like Loki's, who was introduced beforehand, but regardless, it just functions better. The problem with Justice League is all these issues kind of compound and they stand out because they're all next. There's nothing to pick up the slack, know. So Steppenwolf being so CGI heavy and so one-dimensional that he almost makes me like Apocalypse from X-Men Apocalypse. Like,
shout out Oscar Isaac, by the way.
Yeah, oh my God. Kieran Hines, Mance Rayder for Game of Thrones, is the voice of Steppenwolf, but I mean, both those guys totally thankless roles. Get your check.
Yeah. Seriously. Well, that's a lot of people in this movie, and also just like the emotional moments they were supposed to hit, like everything after Superman is revived. First of all, I have a major issue with that scene where he comes back to life. The one thing you need to make sure is safe, other than I guess the rest of
the
mankind,
box.
Is the mother box, and no one remembers the mother box. Yeah. Like literally, when I described it to people, I like my girlfriend asked like about the movie, and I was like, he literally just walks in and takes that box and is out, and there's like no fight to stop it. It's like what? Like just someone guard the mother box, have the Flash like standing near it.
I mean, one thing that kind of annoyed me is there was no doubt as an audience viewer that they were going to resurrect Superman.
Right.
Henry Cavill was like. We knew he was in the movie. He was basically doing press for the movie. So why do we spend so much screen time with them deliberating? Should we do this? No. I mean, I like the grave digging scene of Flash and Cyborg. That was really funny. Yeah. But everything else was, it's just you take it or you leave it. And I mean, let's think of Aquaman. I mean, there are some stuff I loved about Aquaman. I think I like Jason Momoa's take on the character. It's a character that very few people have any connection with. So by all means, do what you want with it. Questionable that he slams a whiskey bottle by the ocean. I thought that was very irresponsible of a man of the sea, but I like his quips, and I thought he was pretty cool. But what did you think of the Atlantis scene where he goes to Atlantis for the first time, which again news to us as the viewer,
Right.
many takes on the character. But what do you think of that scene? Because I thought visually it was a little off when he was talking to Amber Heard and Mira.
Honestly, what I thought the whole time was shooting scenes underwater is like the most difficult thing to make look good or cool ever. And that's why Aquaman as a character is so hard, because everything has to be connected to the water in some way. I mean, I don't know. I also thought like it was very rushed. Like you said, like all of a sudden we're in Atlantis. Steppenwolf is just like running shit. No one can do anything, and then they go into this bubble and they're having a conversation. It's like it didn't it didn't feel like it made sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, I mean, I'm not here to nitpick the plot. You know, that's not important. But you also watch and you think like, was that a reshot scene? Was that from which script is that from? You know, you just don't know what skeleton the movie part of the movie is from. And if you look ahead to get macro again for a second, Aquaman is the next DCEU movie coming out, the only one for next year, and it comes out about a year from now, December 2018, because there's no Star Wars movie next December. And James Wan directing it did acknowledge the challenges of filming an underwater look, but obviously they've done more set work and higher production has been put into that. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but clearly not investing much in underwater scene leaves a little bit more to be desired, as we saw in Justice League. So I just hope that the Aquaman movie, I hope the underwater look isn't immediately polarized, and I hope it's not an immediate point of contention that people will use to shut down the movie, you know, because that movie needs to be good. We need something that's not Wonder Woman to be liked. Right. And Ezra Miller showed us great promise as the Flash. That movie has had a lot of troubles with losing directors. So what are you more excited in? The idea of Aquaman movie or idea of a Flash movie?
Flash, I think, is a much cooler superhero in general. And I think just Ezra Miller, how much he stood out to me, makes me very excited for that.
I mean, watching his super speed scenes, I think they were enjoyable. We've kind of been exposed to that with Quicksilver in X-Men, Days of Future Past and Apocalypse. But there's still mileage in that. And he's funny. And while I thought Ezra Miller's jokes were probably like 50-50, some of them I thought just weren't good jokes. He's an enthusiastic Barry Allen, and he's more neurotic than the Barry Allen we get on The Flash from Grant Gustin on the CW. So it's a different portrayal, but it's a likable one. So, and he's also one of the younger leads. He's only 25, so should be a building block for them.
You know what I actually thought was a really cool scene was when they were talking about basically giving Steppenwolf's like origin story. They're talking about how they beat him last time and how they had help from all these different ways, and they actually showed like the Green Lantern.
Yes,
that got me kind of hype. I was like, we need a Green Lantern movie, even if it's like a Wonder Woman where they put it back in time. Like, give me a Green Lantern.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing too. Like on one hand, as a movie critic, that scene was just annoying. Exposition. You're wasting Gal Gadot having her just, woman explain to Ben Affleck, right? But as a fan, you see that, and you see like Zeus and Artemis and even Ares, who I didn't see all of them the first time. I had to look up the Easter eggs, but they're all there, as well as a Green Lantern who gets killed, and you see his ring go. And is that Hal Jordan's ring, the Green Lantern we're going to get eventually, perhaps? I mean, I thought that was really cool to see as a fan. You got Robin Wright's Antiope there in the cameo. David Thewlis back for Ares. So I mean, it's just the comic book feel. I think is cool if the movie, and it works better if the movie is more consistent. The very first scene of the movie when Batman is on that rooftop fighting that random burglar, and it's like you're transported to Gotham, and it looks very comic booky. I thought visually it looked really cool, but we don't get much more of that, you know.
The burglar that he stops in that is the sidekick in Mindhunter. By the way.
Yeah, no, he's McCowney, right? He's a great character actor.
I know he's that dude. I was like, yes, that dude.
Yes, and lets them go because then the parademon shows up and no one gives a fuck
Right.
about the parademons.
Exactly. Just thinking in the future, let's say like a Justice League 2 in a sense, assuming all the characters were to come back, because I know that there's a lot of talk about what's going to happen with Affleck, if he continues as Batman or not.
They'll have a Batman
They
regardless of
will.
who's playing it. Yeah.
If it was the same cast, including Batman, would you want Zack Snyder or Joss Whedon to direct that movie?
I gotta say Joss, just because Wonder Woman lighter movie, right?
Right.
The best one so far. The other movies all try and do too much, or we're reek shot and we're so reactionary that the tones change. Or Suicide Squad and Justice League and Man of Steel are obviously leaving behind. We basically have a brand new Superman character. So I would say Whedon. I don't think it would be Whedon, but they just need to. Jeff Johns, who's basically the Kevin Feige of DC, they need to just figure out what they are, And I think the last 15 minutes, a lot of fans are very hopeful of that, So I want to say Joss Whedon. He wouldn't make it Marvel-y, but Marvel movies do know what they are. They have a brand, if you will, and DC just needs to get on board with whatever they're going to do. And if it's the last 15 minutes of Justice League, all right, let's go with that and get whoever you can to do that the best. But I don't think it's Zack Snyder.
No, I don't think so either. And actually, I think the tone of Firefly is actually the perfect tone for Justice League to kind of take. It was a serious like sci-fi adventure, but it had Stanley Tudyk basically like getting to do whatever he wanted comedically.
Alan Tudyk or Stanley Tucci, dog?
God damn it! I was like running the name in my mind. I was like, I don't think this is right, but I'm just gonna throw it up there.
Right, and to that point, Thor Ragnarok, a movie we both really liked. Thor Ragnarok knows how fucking dumb it is.
Right.
If you want to make serious superhero movies, you can. Christopher Nolan did it very well. You just need great directors and great scripts. And the problem is Zack Snyder has not been able to do that. These movies are dumb. They were dumb and serious. It's bad. You can't do that. So maybe Marvel takes the easy way out by making it fun the whole time, but they're delivering a good product. So again, I want DC to own what they are, and I think they have a plan. I mean, the post-credit scene, you have Lex Luthor escaped, got a cool Deathstroke by Joe Manganiello, which is really cool to see. But they tease like a Legion of Doom kind of thing. What if they like have the Flash villain, whoever it is, Reverse Flash, Zoom, whoever, come back in Justice League 2 as part of that Legion?
Be awesome.
Cheetah, the Wonder Woman 2 villain, assumingly, come back for the Legion of Doom. Have one of the million Batman rogues come back for Legion of Doom. That's a cool idea. Let's get a plan going. I'm not saying you need to tease Thanos for fucking 10 years.
Right.
But you just got to do more to show the fans that you have an idea. And I think, I don't want to say they can't do that yet because DC's so far behind the 8 ball. We only have one movie coming out next year, and it's still a solo movie. Like, they're just it's going very slow. So, in a sense, like, again, I give them a pass for how not great this one is.
I know it's funny too, because just thinking about how, I mean, I would consider this movie a win for the most part for DC. There's definitely parts that leave a lot to be desired, but overall, like, having good character moments and having superheroes people can get behind and excited for is awesome.
Exactly.
Like, that's good for the brand.
And I think no matter what happened, this movie was going to disappoint. I mean, this is the lowest opening weekend of any of the other DCEUs. I mean, Batman vs Superman came out came out a year and a half ago, and it made over $70 million more in the opening weekend. That's absurd.
Crazy.
Justice League, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman did way worse than Thor, Hulk, and Valkyrie and Loki. Like, it just, the negative buzz was there. And whether this movie was 100% Snyder, 100% Whedon, unless you suddenly got, a great script writer to totally rework the movie and totally win people over with that first trailer, this is going to happen. So like you said, it's a win because a lot of fans are hopeful. And that's really all you can take away.
It's funny though, because I think the best movie I saw this weekend was the trailer for Black Panther. Waiting because dude, every time I watch that trailer, I would like want to run through a brick wall. I want to see Michael B. Jordan just like doing his thing. I am so in on that movie.
Yeah, and what is Black Panther macro level? It's a movie directed by Ryan Coogler, one of the exciting young
Yep.
filmmakers, totally owning it. All black cast, set in Africa, and Matt Reeves, a great filmmaker, did all the recent Planet of the Apes movies, which I love. He's doing the Batman, whether it's with Ben Affleck or not. That's a great talent, you know.
Yeah.
Let's keep this going. Get somebody good on the Flash. Let's get it moving. I mean, they talk about a Deathstroke solo movie and Batgirl with Joss Whedon writing it, and a Nightwing movie, and whether it's Gotham City Sirens or Joker and Harley. Harley's going to be in stuff because Harley's one of their big characters.
Yep.
We have all this talk, but you know, we got to let's get some dates down. You know, let's get these movies made. So, like the Cyborg solo movie, I don't have any faith that it's going to exist. Let's pump our brakes on that. Maybe you treat
Cyborg solo movie should be what the Hulk solo movie is.
I was just going to say that. You put Barry Allen and Cyborg together. You do that. You definitely don't all need their solos. And Green Lantern Corps is on the docket. Shazam has been cast with Zachary Levi, and The Rock will eventually be Black Adam. So like, we know all this stuff, but we got to get more results. And again, it takes time because we have a whole other year to wait before Aquaman. So you're gonna hear a lot of takes and a lot of people saying stuff, but at this point, he's got to wait.
Any last thoughts on Justice League before we wrap up? Should people who are casual fans see it?
I mean, I'd say so. I mean, if you've been watching all of them, I don't think. I mean, if you really want to stop, I mean, fine, I guess. Go ahead. I mean, there's very few movies that feel like they matter in in cultures, and a big part of that is like the 5 to 8 superhero movies every year to come out. Those movies people talk about, people care about, they make money, and I mean, I feel like if you're going to see anything, you should see the superhero movies, and you should see the Oscar movies we tell you are really good.
Lady Bird. I'm going to see it this week.
Lady Bird, it might be my movie of the year. But yeah, I mean, if you really want to skip it, I mean, go ahead. I mean, it's fun to watch, you know? I mean, you're not there with your glasses and your fucking notepad. I mean, your expectations aren't that high. Come on.
Go take it for what it is pretty much the takeaway. Yeah. All right, so
Batman is still cool at the end of the day, and so is Wonder Woman. Like, whatever. I don't have to sell you on that. If you don't want to see it, don't see it.